Great War, as it was known at the time, ended in 1918 after 4 years of unprecedented destruction. But while the guns fell silent, the task of rebuilding the world had just begun. In January 1919, the Allied powers convened in Paris, France, to forge a new peace, a peace that would shape the 20th century. This was the Paris Peace Conference, and its goal was nothing less than to redraw the borders of Europe, impose punishments, and establish a lasting peace. But its results, as we know now, would set the stage for more turmoil in the decades to come. The conference began on January 18, 1919, with representatives from more than 30 nations gathering in the Hall of Mirrors at the Palace of Versailles. But the most significant discussions were between the Big Four, the leaders of the major Allied powers, President Woodrow Wilson of the United States, Prime Minister David Lloyd George of the United Kingdom, Premier Georges Clemenceau of France, and Italian Prime Minister Vittorio Orlando. Each leader brought their own vision of peace to the table. Wilson, the idealist, pushed for a lasting peace based on his 14 points, a plan advocating for self-determination, free trade, and the creation of a League of Nations to prevent future wars. Wilson's most ambitious idea was the League of Nations, an international body designed to promote diplomacy and prevent future conflicts. He believed that through dialogue, nations could resolve disputes without resorting to war. But not everyone shared Wilson's optimism. Clemenceau, the French premier, was far more concerned with punishing Germany, which he held responsible for the immense suffering France had endured. He demanded harsh reparations and the dismantling of Germany's military power. Lloyd George, the British Prime Minister, was in a delicate position. He sympathized with Clemenceau's desire for revenge, but he also feared that excessively punishing Germany could lead to future instability. His goal was a balance, ensuring peace without creating conditions for another war. Meanwhile, Italy's Prime Minister, Vittorio Orlando, felt slighted. Italy had entered the war on the side of the Allies with the promise of territorial gains, but at the conference he found himself sidelined. He ultimately walked out, dissatisfied with the final settlement. The result of these debates was the Treaty of Versailles, signed on June 28, 1919. The treaty imposed harsh terms on Germany, including the loss of territory, the demilitarization of the Rhineland, and a staggering war indemnity. The War Guilt Clause held Germany responsible for the war, a provision that left deep scars on the German psyche. But the treaty wasn't just about punishment. The Paris Peace Conference also reshaped Europe's map. New nations emerged from the ashes of empires. Czechoslovakia, Poland, and Yugoslavia were created, and the Austro-Hungarian Empire was dismantled. The Ottoman Empire collapsed and the Middle East was divided into mandates under the control of Britain and France. Some of the decisions made at Paris would sow the seeds for future conflicts. Nationalism, ethnic tensions, and the vague boundaries of new nations created instability that would erupt in the coming decades. The League of Nations was born from the conference, but its effectiveness would be limited. The United States, despite Wilson's fervent advocacy, never joined the League due to opposition in Congress. Without the backing of the US, the League struggled to enforce its authority and prevent future conflicts. The Paris Peace Conference, while hailed as a victory for the Allies, left many unresolved issues. It failed to create the stable, lasting peace that Wilson envisioned. Instead, the Treaty of Versailles contributed to a sense of injustice, especially in Germany, where the terms of the treaty bred resentment. This, in part, laid the groundwork for the rise of Adolf Hitler and the outbreak of World War II. Nearly a century later, the effects of the Paris Peace Conference continue to be felt. The decisions made in those meeting rooms shaped the world we live in today, for better or worse. The hope for peace, though noble, was far from realized, as the lessons of history show. The Paris Peace Conference, an ambitious attempt to reshape the world, a peace built on compromise, and a reminder that the road to peace is often as fraught as the war itself. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more history content.